Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast. I am George Armstead here with my co-hosts Molly Brown and Alvaro Jaramillo. Guys, what's up?
Hello.
Hey, it's been a busy morning. All sorts of things going on over here. I've been busy.
Yeah?
With birding and non-birding things.
What's happened in West Virginia, Molly?
Well, I have bitten off more than I could chew this fall, which is great.
That doesn't sound like you at all, Molly.
I know. But what's coming up right now, I have just been packing up, and you might even hear background noise as Jimmy's loading the truck, because we're getting ready to take off to spend a weekend of herping at the West Virginia Herpetological Society's annual symposium at New River Gorge. And I am so excited. I have no idea what to expect. It basically looks like a birding festival, except you're looking for herps.
Wow.
And I cannot wait. I'm nervous and I'm hyper today.
Yeah. Wow, it's fascinating. Is there a reason that they hold it at this particular season? Is it convenient for people's schedules, or is there something herp wise that people go for then?
Oh man. Ask me these questions for the next recording, because I really don't know. I mean, I think that April to September-ish is probably your main herp time. Starting when things come out in April.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking this is just a good time when you've got some snakes and salamanders all at once.
Nice.
I'll tell you more about that in a bit, because I am such a novice. I've been trying to figure out. Yeah, thanks. I have no idea what to pack. I've overpacked. I know what to pack for a birding trip, but I just have every type of flashlight I can find in the house and a bunch of things to be prepped for rain and getting in creeks.
Are there any particular species you're hoping to encounter?
So another thing, I've been studying for this a little bit, and it's interesting because there are like 20-ish salamander species in that general area, and then between snakes and a couple lizards, there's like another 15 or so reptiles. No, I don't, I'm just kind of starting on my life list for this kind of thing.
It's a good plug there. That was seamless. That was really well done.
Yeah, that's right. It's like I didn't even mean to. There are a couple snakes. Like, I think that's kind of the northernmost range of smooth green snake.
Ooh,
and yeah, I haven't seen one of them. I haven't seen a hognose snake, and I imagine
those are
that's
so cool.
They're really, really cool.
Yeah,
I'd like to see them.
They have so much personality. It's like
they seem like it. They put on a show
buggers.
from what I've seen.
Yeah, I've only seen two, but like they're like scary and cute all at once.
Yeah. If you didn't know what you were looking at, they could.
They were pretty common in Ontario on the lakeshore. We just see lots of them.
Kind of sandy soil, right? I think they like kind of sandy soil.
Yeah.
I can look for them while I'm looking for flamingos, maybe.
Al, have you ever seen them do that? They like puff up and try to look like a rattlesnake. And
do that. I actually would make them do that.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, it's like you sort of grab one so it goes, and it
like,
does the whole thing.
Yeah, they look all
and then you sort of hang out. You hang out and watch the whole thing, because if you don't leave, they'll go, okay, let's do this then. And then they pop up. And
cool.
Like, that's not working. and then when nothing works, and they turn over.
They roll over.
Dead. Yeah, and then they show you their belly, and
they're like, "See, I'm dead now.
Them.
There's nothing. No, you don't have to worry anymore. Just go away."
Yeah. But the thing is, you can grab them and put them right side up, and then they just turn on their belly again. Like, it's sort of like, no, I'm dead, actually. It's like, well, that's not right. You should just stay. Don't move. It's like, so they would.
It's like, you're doing this wrong, guys. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, and there's a version completely unrelated, but does something similar in Argentina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they call it the falsa yarara.
I was going to say, does it imitate the yarara? Those things look terrifying. I'm like,
yeah, the bothrops.
They get big too.
Yeah, right. So it imitates it and kind of tries to scare you, but it's nothing
harmless.
going on.
Yeah,
harmless. They don't even bite. I mean,
right.
It's pretty cool.
They just try to look scary, and they puff up fat, and they wiggle their little tail end, and they're like, I'm a
and they have
rattlesnake,
something.
believe
I
me.
think they have red on the tail, so you can kind of like your vision goes to the
Really
red,
check it
and it starts curling it and stuff. And yeah, they're fun.
Well,
But,
I hope you get to see one of those, Molly. And I know it's a good part of the world for salamanders, and there
It's
ought
a
to
great
be
part, yeah.
and like timber rattlers ought to be around, I'd think. and
Yeah,
copperheads.
I mean, rattlers and copperheads are pretty widespread in the state. I just, in the little bit of studying I've done for salamanders, it looks like it's a pretty interesting area where it's like the southernmost part of a few ranges that are like Allegheny Mountain type salamanders. And then there are some that are all through the Appalachians, some that are sort of just central Appalachians. And then there's, I don't even know what to call it, but a lot of the range maps kind of go into the Midwest and kind of go out to like Arkansas and then kind of north. And it's like a central Midwest kind of range. And there's just a couple different genera that are there. And I am just kind of looking at like basics of how to, identify them, habitat, that sort of thing. But I've never gone out and targeted salamanders before. I've just looked for them where I have been, and that hasn't been down there.
You're in the range of Hellbender, right?
Sunday's Hellbender Day, and
Really?
that is why I signed up for this. Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
I was talking to the organizers. I think that I don't know exactly how it works with the timing, but they're like looking at the timing of some dam releases, and the water levels may or may not be conducive of Hellbender searching. But I really hope, I'd love to just go out and try. But we'll see what happens there.
For folks that don't know, Hellbender is the largest North American salamander, and they can be like 2.5 feet long.
They're big. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen one, but I want to.
I would die to see. I'm like, that thing doesn't really exist. That's like a cartoon character. It's not real.
No, I'm really excited. Yeah, and they're, I think, pretty closely related to the giant salamanders in Japan.
Oh, those things, yeah, also
so it's just
crazy.
Like insane geographic isolation between them. And they're really cool. They're super susceptible to a lot of different, types of pollutants in the water and that sort of thing. So there are all sorts of reasons that they're a species in decline and hard to find. But yeah, I feel like I'm going to go to this and I'm going to talk about it a lot. And then next year, I'm just going to bombard them with a ton of birding people who want to see herps as much as I do.
I have 2 suggestions. One, if they have like, the herp t-shirts, get the one that says, I axolotl questions.
All right, I'll look for that one.
Do you know that? No? Well, I'll send you. There's a salamandery thing called the axolotl.
Oh yeah, he's got that thing is a cartoon character.
Yeah, he's got the little frilly.
Yeah, it looks like kind of looks like that dinosaur in Jurassic Park that like fans out the hood and like hisses. Yeah, except
and
it's tiny.
Also avoid the heavy duty parties going on at this place, the toad licking and all that. We don't want you doing something dangerous, Molly.
That's
want
bad
you
advice
safe.
Right there. That is bad advice.
Avoid. No. These herp people.
Molly,
these herp
go
people,
to the toad licking room. Yeah, wherever the toad licking room is. If you don't go there, I'll be really disappointed.
As a first time attendee, she's not going to be given the password to go to that.
That's
party,
true.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think you're
suss you out.
I think you're underestimating Molly, Alvaro. I think she's going to come back with like a box full of toads. She's like, you guys are going to come try these out. They're not bad.
I mean, we're recording the morning after I come back from this again next week, so we'll see how that.
We'll see if you're permanently altered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, she'll be a different Molly.
The herp people, it's a different crowd,
I'm about to find out.
Woo. Yeah. I mean, the herp guys I know are there's some wild characters, like I mean we always joke how the birders actually know how to party and a pretty good time. I think the herp people are it's a next level. It's another species, it's another animal.
I'm just stumbling into this. I don't know. Now you're really hyping me up. It's going to be such a
the Hellbender party
weekend. Yeah.
How metal does that sound? Yeah.
Yeah, I might just stick around for that. But yeah, am I going to be up in the mornings? Like, am I going to be out all night? Am I going to find any birds? I don't I don't know.
The not knowing is kind of great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. So that's what I got going on. Things are
Yeah.
good over here.
God, that's juicy. I can't wait to hear how this goes.
Yeah,
thanks.
that part of the world is almost like the Columbia of salamanders, I mean,
Yeah.
it really is
Kind of
most
starting through
diverse.
there and down through the Carolinas. You got a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll have a day when you can report back.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to know how this goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Al, what have you been up to, amigo?
Pelagic yesterday.
I don't believe you. That sounds like fiction to me.
We had a first. And I would not make you guess this because you will not guess because it's not a pelagic bird. We had a Virginia's warbler flying around the boat.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
Yeah, which is actually a vagrant for us here. I mean, we don't
like anywhere.
We're
in
not
California.
that far. Yeah, we're not that far from Virginia's warbler kind of breeding, in Nevada and stuff. Maybe they breed in some parts of California on the other side of the mountains, but still, it's crazy, have one flying around.
Do you remember that field guides used to have a tour called Virginia's Warblers? And and it was sort of a play on words, right? Because Virginia actually is really good for warblers. You can get 20 plus breeding species in there in the Appalachians and down the coast and the swamps and everything. But as I recall, somebody showed up on that tour and was kind of furious that they had no chance at actually seeing the species Virginia's warbler.
Yeah.
And I want to be
boy, you got to look at the map.
Yeah, you didn't prepare very well.
Got to release the cage bird for that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that we were talking about that actually yesterday because it was the Field Guides group who was doing, so Field Guides was there with 2 tours. And it was good. Good trip, good weather, good whale show. And, just there was a time when we were surrounded by humpback whales, and then all these Pacific white-sided dolphins came through, and then some common dolphins shot in, and some poor views of northern right-whale dolphins. Meanwhile, there's pink-footed shearwaters everywhere, and it was really cool. It was like sort of a moment, and we all kind of reminisce thinking about Tom and how much he would have enjoyed that specific trip. So it was pretty neat, in many ways. Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
That sounds like a postcard pelagic. Just sound like you're surrounded by
right whale dolphins.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorites. Those are great animals.
We did not have good looks, but they were there, they're funny little things, right? Because they don't really come up for air in the same way that other dolphins do. They're not so visible because they don't have the dorsal fin. So you can sometimes just see these little black, tops of something, or you're like, what is that? Is that a sea lion? Or is that, what is it? And then you realize.
One of the most spectacular cetacean sightings I ever saw was on that New Zealand cruise, Al, that you and I are scheduled to do in
spaces left, folks.
Yeah, still spaces left. But one of those trips, we had one of these big, huge pods of southern right whale dolphins. Leaping out of the water. I want to say it was 300 or more animals, and they're just they were kind of in the distance, and eventually they kind of, but you just watched them, and it was just and they're all jumping out of the water like dolphins do, but these are so different looking, and those ones are really
black and white.
Yeah, really white. The southern ones, really dramatic.
Yeah, that was we actually saw them once on a Chilean pelagic trip in Valparaiso, where everybody goes out of there, and one time they showed up, and I don't know. I'm really curious now that I kind of understand the ocean a tiny bit better, as to what was going on that year, and if maybe I could even piece together if there were other interesting bird sightings that were happening that year, because those animals usually aren't there. So that is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Lots of good birds offshore, and 2 more trips, Saturday and Sunday, so that we have sold out trips right now. So
that's fantastic, man.
Yeah. And my voice, it's gone, it's gone all the time now. It's like,
tis the season for you. You've got, it's Alvaro Husky voice season, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy it while it lasts. In a couple weeks, he's going to be sounding fresh and as a daisy.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we concluded our overnight Hillstar pelagic yesterday.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a photo from that.
Did you?
Nice. From Doug Gotchfeld. Is that right? Well, you tell.
I sent him a couple photos.
Okay.
And I actually didn't take a single photo myself. I was just like, I have to admit, I'm suffering a little bit from photo fatigue from like my summer. I just finished going through my Columbia photos, when I spent a month there and basically all of July. And I'm like, I just don't want to edit anymore or manage any more photos for a while. And so I keep finding myself being like, just leave the camera, And yesterday, I hadn't been offshore in a long time. Like I really offshore. Like I did, some winter pelagics where we get out 30 miles or whatever, 30, 40 miles looking for alcids, but like far offshore into deep water. It had been a long time for me. It was just, I found myself, I must be getting older too, because I was like, I'm really enjoying the preparation for this trip. Like, I had all my food organized, I was like, I had my snacks, and I was
That's not an age thing.
Yeah, you don't think so? I mean, because typically
I argue no.
Okay, well, typically I'm like, I just show up at the dock. I'm like, roll me out of bed, roll me out of the car, throw me on a boat. I'm ready to bird. But this time I was like, I took time to really like prepare, and I was like, this is good stuff right here. Just the prepping part, and I had all my food ready to go. I had, I was like, I was prepared. I was ready,
And you felt good on the boat. Your preparation.
Yeah. It worked out great, and but it was a funny trip, like it was just so not what I expected at all. Which is kind of how these boat trips go, right? Like, you kind of go out with an idea what you want to see and what you're hoping to see and what you want everybody to experience. And it was not what we were expecting or really hoping for. But I think everybody got off that boat pretty amped up and excited about the day we had just had. The birding was fine. It was good. It was not spectacular, but like just the wildlife was really great. The conditions out there were calm. You could see a long way. And as a result, we just had a great whale show. We had dozens of short-fin pilot whales, lots of offshore bottlenose, sperm whale. We had a nice pod of striped dolphins early in the morning which is actually it was a lifer, something I'd never seen before. And I think we estimated somewhere close to 50 of those. They were moving early on. And then probably the coolest thing we had, it looks like 3 different pods of Cuvier's beaked whales. And
those are the photos I saw.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when I first saw we had 2 right next to the boat. We saw one pod kind of in the distance, about 6-7 animals, and you could see some big males surfacing. And when you see those big males, they're really obvious and distinctive. And then I want to say maybe 40 minutes later, we had these 2 animals surface next to us. And these beaked whales, usually they see it and they just drop. They're like, they might give you another little quick surface, but then they disappear and that's it. That's often all you get. And these guys kept surfacing right next to us. And I was like, oh, they're gathering up air and they're going to go down and that's going to be it. And they gathered up air. They surfaced 5 or 6 times. You could see that they were breathing, kind of moving, and then they started to sink. And I was like, okay, well, that was pretty cool. I don't know what those were. Hopefully we got some pictures and can figure it out. And all of a sudden they come flying out of the water, do a full breach. And they did that 3 times. And just yeah. And I it's not often you see beaked whales at all, much less see them leap out of the water and see the entire body. And afterwards, looking at the photos, we could tell that they were more Cuvier's beaked whales, or what they used to call goosebeak whales. in the genus Xiphias. At the time, I had thought they were Mesoplodon, but looking at the photos, it's pretty clear they were Cuvier's beaked whales. So we had 3 different groups of them. In the pre-dawn, we had at least 5 different Wilson storm petrels land on the boat, and we caught some squid. We caught about half a dozen or so webbed flying squid. And I put them into iNaturalist. There's only like 4 or 5 other previous iNat records for that, which was pretty wild. And we had hammerhead sharks, and we had a blue shark circling the boat as dawn rose. We had a lot of sea turtles. We had a lot of loggerhead sea turtles, and one smaller turtle we couldn't identify. We saw it briefly. It was either a Ridley or a green. And lots of flying fish. The birds were good. We had probably 600 or so Wilson storm petrels, which is a lot. And we had good views of Audubon's, Corey's, great shearwater each. And we had bridal tern. That was probably our best bird. Bridal tern. We had 2 groups. And I was surprised to see it was actually these appear to be the first records in eBird for the state of New Jersey in over 10 years for bridal tern. And it was good. We had like 2 go by kind of distant where everyone was like, great. Yeah. Okay. That was nice. We saw bridal tern, but you could tell everybody really was like, okay, that was kind of almost like a taste of honey being worse than none at all, and I was like, all right, I'm hoping it's a starter view, and that we'll get our entree view later. And sure enough, we hit a big patch of sargassum weed, and there was a board floating in that, and there was a juvenile and an adult bridal tern. We were able to cruise up on them close and get really beautiful views and hear the juvenile just calling away.
Oh, wow.
So that was cool. And we got to hear great shearwaters calling. We got to hear Wilson storm petrels calling. So I think everybody had white-faced storm petrel on the brain. Everybody, we all wanted to see that. We did not see that. But at the same time, I think nobody got off that boat disappointed. I hope, at least, because we just had a great day.
Any recordings of the Wilsons?
We came so close. One of the ones that landed on the boat, we picked it up because it was, they can't move on the boat on their own, right? Once they're down on the ground, they need help getting up and getting out. So we picked one up, and it immediately started chattering. And I was trying to get everyone to be quiet so we could record it. And one of my friends, Jess Koss, who was on board, she said she might have some, she was trying to shoot some video. She might have some of it. But otherwise, between the boat noise and the voices, it's hard to record out there, as you know. But I don't think we got it. I don't think we got anything probably usable. But it was cool to hear that. There was times when I was scanning, and it would be really quiet, and you could hear great shearwaters pitter pattering as they took off. And I'm like, there's something deeply sublime about, being like, I'm hearing a great shearwater take off right now as I scan into the distance, It's like,
yeah, we get that a lot with the groups of sooties, but it's often, 1,000 taken off. So it's like,
yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty spectacular spectacle when that happens.
So we've been having reliable storm petrel flocks, black and ashy, and also farther north we had some mixed with fork-tailed storm petrels in Bodega Bay.
That's
but the weird thing is two of those days where it was pretty good weather, but there was a bit of a wind. We were able to smell the storm petrel flocks right from the boat. You could get the storm petrel smell. No, it's that musty.
Oh, citrus is the alpha, yeah.
Yeah. And then we also, one of the flocks, we heard them calling, which had never had happened. So hopefully I have some recording of that. I assume they were, I don't know, because it was a mix of ashies and blacks, but that has never actually happened to us. We heard them on the ocean. So it's a good storm petrel year out here too.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So, guys, as I was just going to look up real quickly and see what I could find for Wilson's storm petrel vocalizations, and I open up the eBird, and the eBird homepage right now features a photograph of a swallow-tailed gull.
Ah,
I'm trying to see if it is the
From where?
swallow. I was going to say, I'm trying to like see
Yeah.
where this actual image is taken. But yeah, it's by Josh Stacy.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
September 1st.
yeah. Joshua's like one of the folks that spots birds for us on the Pelagics.
Okay. And this is one of the craziest vagrants found in recent times, right in your backyard there, Alvaro.
Right. But the cool thing for before we get into the story.
Mhm.
So some years ago, a kelp gull showed up that I was jogging on the beach and saw this thing and blah, 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 kelp gull, but very few people saw it that first day. It was kind of a, 1 hour wonder. And it then was seen on the Farallon Islands, and then it went south, right? And I said to the locals, and especially Malia and Chris here, who are birders who are always looking at the gulls, I said that gull's going to come back next year. It's going to come back. And Chris and Malia next May found it in the same beach, and it came back, right?
Wow.
So there was this thing of like, Al predicted this thing would come back. And then recently, in the ABA podcast, they, talking about El Nino, I made predictions of what could happen. And I said, we should be on the lookout for swallow-tailed gull.
Oh, boy.
And it was, then
we're never going to hear the end of this, Molly.
Southern California came in. So I have now been dubbed, I have a name now, Nostradamus, as a person who predicts the future in the birding world. Yes, Nostradamus. That's right. Please.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. How apropos. I don't know.
I know. Yes,
I don't know who came up with this or how, but thank you. Thank you.
So anyway, what happened, right? I'm sitting working the other day, and we have this, what is it? That it's not, it's one of these rare bird alerts that's, on Telegram, I guess it is. Telegram, one of the, people have different ones that they use.
That's what we use
different
here in
counties.
Telegram, yeah.
So, all right. So Telegram, and, we get this, Aaron Macelich puts out this swallow-tailed gull in San Gregorio beach. And I'm like, San Gregorio, where is that? I'm thinking this like Southern California beach somewhere that I don't know. I was about to like Google, where is San Gregorio? And then somebody says, you mean San Gregorio? And he goes, yes. And I'm like, San Gregorio, that's like 15 minutes away. So,
oh my God.
So I immediately left, and I thought, this is crazy. He hadn't posted any photos, but it's Aaron guy who's birds here all the time, who was on our Antarctica trip and so forth. And I arrive, and one of the locals had just arrived, and then Chris Hayward, also of the kelp gull, he sort of drives in and practically, I don't know if he even parked, he was like out, like, and I was a little worried about, this is like a state beach. Should I got to pay or whatever. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit and do all the pay, get the little envelope, put, I'm going to do that later. So I wrote a note, rare bird, will pay later. And I stuck it up on just because of that I thought about it. At least the guy comes over. He's like, okay, at least the guy's honest,
Wow.
Turned out the payment thing was broken anyway, so we didn't have to pay. But Chris got down there first, and by all accounts, he didn't know whether to look at the bird or try to resuscitate Aaron's heart, because he was just so moved by the whole thing. He was sort of sitting there on a log waiting, shaking.
I was trying to picture, knowing Aaron and loving him dearly, I was like, what must that experience have been like for him?
Right.
Yeah.
and then I saw it from the top. I could see, oh, there it is. It's still. So then, kind of made my way down and got a better look at the bird. And as we sat there talking, enjoying it, photographing it, then just more and more and more people. And as time went on, it became a social thing, right? And we were also trying to keep track of where the bird was and telling people on Telegram.
That's always the worst, is when you get everyone starts talking, all of a sudden it's like, anyone see the bird?
Yeah, I know, right? So the radius of distance became greater and greater and greater, so suddenly it's like Sacramento, California is now in the mix, First it
has
was
arrived. Sacramento has arrived.
Right. It was sort of like first Half Moon Bay, Santa Cruz. Then, we were getting people from the city, from San Francisco. And then it just got wider. Oh, San Jose's arrived, Sacramento. And then I left before there were folks in Kern County, which is like way, that calculated they could be there before sunset and raced in, So that it was a pretty crazy thing, and to see a lot of people hadn't seen for a long time, and just a jovial atmosphere, all watching this bird, kind of knowing. I think we all kind of knew that bird would not come back the next day. I at least I thought so, and maybe nobody wanted to say that because you want to keep
enjoying the moment,
positive, but a positive thing for those who are not there, who are talking about coming the next day. And the next day, apparently, there were tons of people all over the place looking, and it was just gone. So it went out to sea at, I think it was something like 10 minutes after sunset or 20 minutes. Yeah, it sort of waited. And then, but what was really cool is that it was sleeping when we arrived, afternoon, sleeping, doing very little, just almost never showing the head. So people were like, "Oh gosh, I wish it'd stand up," and so it was.
Yeah, the bill pattern on those things and the eyes are really cool. Like the face of that bird is a really cool,
cool looking thing.
Yeah,
and then it would fly a little bit. Went to the other side of the flock, or something happened, disturbance, and then as the afternoon wore on, it became more and more active, and suddenly it was like flying and pecking at other birds and sitting on a big log and you're realizing its clock is just going like, oh yeah, gonna go and feed now, and it was just because they're nocturnal, right?
I was going to say, this was getting later in the afternoon?
Later in the afternoon, it just started getting more and more and more active, and suddenly those who arrived later, in fact, had much more interesting views of it than those that just saw it in the early portion when it was mostly sleeping. So it was really, really neat, and then it's not been seen again. So swallowtail gull from Galapagos.
Yeah.
So here.
So help me put a little more, like, I think a lot of birders will know swallowtail gull. First of all, awesome name. Like, as sort of gray, black, and white birds go, pretty beautiful. Yeah.
The red orbital ring.
Yes, and those big eyes, right? And really long bill, forked tail, right? Growing up,
like
growing up, I always looked at the pattern and shape of this thing, without ever having seen it at the time, and I was like, man, that's a sexy looking gull right there, and I like gulls, but that's a sexy gull right there,
Yeah,
and I was like, I wonder if this thing is. I always figured it must be like closely related to Sabin's gull, forked tail, crazy wing pattern. But of course, they're not at all. Really, I mean, other than being in the same family, they're not. And I think it's, if I remember, Criegus, right? Is the genus, and I think that's at the base of the gull phylogeny. Is that right?
Yeah. Basically, it is one of the oldest lineages of gulls. That, along with little gull and Ross's gull. The three are the oldest gulls on, in the phylogeny. Yeah.
Highly distinct in terms of their of their evolution in relation to other gulls. Really
weird calls too. They croak,
clicking,
they do
like
these
sort of
croaking, clicking.
Do you think that's like an echolocation thing at all, or
I don't know. I've never thought about it, but it could be. I guess that'd be kind of cool.
And I mean, they do have huge eyes. I'm sure they can see quite well at night. But I think in terms of gulls that are really active feeders at night, I know red-legged kittiwake is pretty active at night. I would guess some of these ocean-going gulls, like Sabin's gulls, might do some feeding at night,
Right.
but I'm not really sure. Do you know, are there other than those two species, are there others that are really kind of really nocturnal?
If you go to colonies, gull colonies, even around the Great Lakes, you will see a lot of gulls at night. Like in Toronto, you'll
laughing gulls you
yeah.
hear a lot at night.
Yeah, you'll see them flying around, ring-billed gulls and so on. So they're not adverse to being nocturnal, kind of like things like plovers and so forth that you think, okay, I see them in the day, but they're actually active at night too. I think there's a lot of gulls that will be active at night, but being strictly or primarily active at night, I think then you're getting down to, red lake, kittiwake probably, and, swallowtail. I don't know about Sabins. Yeah, I'm not sure. But you would assume so because there's more food at night in the ocean, close to shore, close to the surface.
Mm.
But I don't. One of the things I was pointing out to folks there at the bird was like, sort of from my Galapagos experience and stuff. I said, look at it when it closes its eye, because they couldn't figure out what was going on. They're like, well, no, the eye doesn't look closed. It's kind of pale. No. That's like the lower eyelid looks like a fake eye when it closes its eye. And I think they can actually see through that, so that they can see when general movement happens, so they can wake up. They have sort of like a little window, and it's not the nictitating membrane, or it's the lower eyelid. And you can see that in a lot of photographs. And the other thing is like those little white spots, really vivid white areas at the base of the bill. I said, no gull has that. No gull has those things. So I said, so I've always made theories about what that could be, and it could just be display. But I bet that they poke their head in the water at night, and those little white things kind of flash and attract squid. Because squid are really interested in little white or lights or whatever, and I bet they attract squid with those things.
Wow.
And I will put that as a theory that maybe somebody can test.
Wow. Coming from Nostradamus, that seems like it might have some legs. Yeah.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
They don't call me Nostradamus for nothing,
Oh man, I feel like this one's really going to stick. It's really going to stick.
I need the t-shirt.
Absolutely.
You do need the t-shirt.
Swallowtail gull with
just put it written across your hat.
Right. Like that too.
Arrow pointed down.
Yeah.
Oh,
what a bird. See, I don't chase very many birds. But the fact there was a couple of things, right? The fact that this silly prediction I made, I thought, oh, this is going to be cool to just sort of see it and to talk about it later on in the podcast. B, it was 15 minutes away. It's a swallowtail gull. And it also made our county kind of the gull capital of
North
anywhere
America
at this point. Yeah, North America, because it made us go up to 22 species of gulls in this
Good
county.
Lord. Have you had red lake kittiwake in that county?
No. We have upside.
I was going to say that because that's going to happen at some point. You're probably going to get one on your trip someday.
Right. I think so.
Yeah.
Could go to 23.
Man.
Yeah, and that's, we lost Thayer's gull, so that was...
Might get that back someday. Might get that back. Maybe someone's going to write that wrong. We're going to get it back.
We're going to get it back.
Yeah.
But it's actually, to give people an idea, I think there were only, what it was, Adam Weiner put together a list of how many states have actually seen more, or 23 or more, and it was only a few states that have seen as that many, and only a few countries, something like 8 countries that have had a bigger gull list. And the U.S. actually has the biggest gull list of any nation on Earth. Believe it or not. I would have thought it was Russia or something, but no.
I think I'm down to very few gulls in the world, species-wise, that I have not seen. And 2 of them you get all the time in Chile.
Right.
What
would they be? Gray gull?
Gray gull.
No.
And
Gray gull? Belchers?
Belchers. And then I have never seen relict gull.
Relic gull, yeah.
And I think I've, like, unless there's some other split I am unaware of, I think I've
Saunders gull? Have you seen
I've seen
Saunders
Saunders.
Gull?
I have seen
you
Saunders
went.
gull.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I've seen all the other gulls.
Look
It would be
at
a fun
him,
family to
Molly.
close
Look
out.
at
Yeah.
I need to go to Australia and New Zealand. One of those will be happening next year to see a few more. I have I think the only difficult one I have is relic gull to see. The other ones are all relatively common if you go to the spots where they are. So yeah. But I have not seen ivory gull. But that's coming.
You'll get that.
Coming.
You'll get that. Yeah. Well, I feel like I should share that neither am I much of a chaser, but today it is 11:30 in the morning on Friday, September 8th. And in just a few short hours, I will venture westward across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania towards Franklin County, where currently in a small roadside pond are 2 American flamingos. And God willing, Kristen and I will see them. God willing. May the birding gods
Clear
smile
to the
upon
western
us.
realms of Pennsylvania.
Out your way. Yeah.
Kinda. Halfway there.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. But what craziness has befallen us with these flamingos? I mean, like, I have to say, like I say, I'm not a chaser. This one, when we heard the news as we got back towards land yesterday on the Pelagic, and everyone's going, "What?" Like, we know Idalia, scattered some the Hurricane Idalia scattered some flamingos, and in Florida, sure. Cape Hatteras, sure. Like basically, it's almost like an extreme wing of the Caribbean there, the tip of Cape Hatteras, right? There's Antillean nighthawks there on a couple times, and yellow-green vireos, and weird things happen out there. And then you get this ones in Ohio, and you think, okay, well that's nuts, that's crazy. I guess there's one in Indiana now, I think, or there are one to some in Indiana now. But like, this is a bird. I was lucky enough to go to Celestún in Yucatan, Mexico when I was young, when I was in 11th grade. And to go to that big flock there, which I think usually is somewhere between like 2,000 and 4,000 American flamingos. People want to say flamingos. That was a good place to do it. And the other thing I remember there is we had like a flock of like 9,000 lesser scaup and like 10,000 American coot. So there was just biomass at this place, right?
Wow.
So the coots don't bring in the tours? I'm shocked. What the heck, man? That many coots?
Yeah, I think Al, I've
pay
probably
money
told.
to see that.
Yeah, speaking of that, my father, one of his great quotes is he often says, "You know why I like a coot? Because you never see a coot putting on any airs. They are not a presumptuous species.
Not a flamboyant one like a flamingo.
They're sort of accidentally comical. But yeah, like that place, I went there, I got to see that big flock of American flamingos, this wall of pink over these beautiful blue waters with all these big flock of birds around them. And to me, that was like the most exotic thing in the world, I could possibly imagine at that point. The idea, apparently these birds are banded, and from that population, the ones that are in Pennsylvania, I have heard, I have not seen, I just got off the boat, basically slept last night, woke up today, we're recording now. I have not done any research on this really, but from what I understand, it has been established that these birds in Pennsylvania are from that population in Celestún in Yucatan. So I
think a handful of these have been.
Is that right?
I don't know if it's the same birds. I mean, it's been other ones that are banded too. I've seen this in discussion.
Wow.
But,
just the idea that those birds that I saw in 11th grade on what felt like another planet are now in my home state, just surreal.
So cool.
I wonder if they intermix, like if they fly back and forth to Cuba or not, like if they're two separate things, because that was my theory. Maybe they were moving from one wetland to another, like a whole bunch of them. And that's why they got it, thrown out northward in that wind, sort of the early winds. They probably said, "Oh, I'm going downhill on this. I'm not going to fight this thing," and they wound up, in the U.S.
They're not
'Cause it
exactly
doesn't make
aerodynamic.
sense to me. No. Yeah.
I mean, once they
Well,
get hit by
and
a storm, it's like,
there haven't been like frigate birds scattered that I've seen or anything. Like there haven't been other
it's true.
birds that I would have
Right.
assumed would have been the ones that would have blown up from something like this.
Right.
Just flamingos.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's a good point.
There has to be sort of when a big hurricane hit Cuba, where there was a lot of flamingos. The flamingos just essentially died. There was all sorts of video and people trying to save some of the flamingos in Cayo Coco and so forth. But this suggests that the flamingos were in the air to me, like when it happened. Maybe there's sort of an interchange between those populations, and they were essentially going from one. And the banders should be able to tell us. That'd be an interesting question, sort of see if they go to Cuba. Oh yeah, I bet they do, but I don't know. We should look that up.
I should look at the track of the storm as well. I don't know just how. I feel like this was an unusual track, but it would be worth looking at again. I haven't studied. I know we got a couple storms on the way as well, like this Hurricane Lee, and there's one developing behind it that look poised. I think some of the models have it, hitting northeastern U.S. And right now it's a Cat 5, so we'll keep our eyes on that.
I will be honest, and I will say that when I first saw the pictures of I guess it was in Florida, 4 or 5 flamingos, people stopping, get quick photos because there was no place to see them well. The first few that arrived, after people were making a big deal, flamingos in Florida. Then I thought, whatever. But then when they started showing up everywhere, there was like, no, this is really cool. But first I was dismissive. I was sort of like, okay, the flamingos. A few flamingos showed up.
You know what?
But then it was like, wow.
This is a thing. Yeah, one of the interesting things is that I heard that a friend of mine was talking to Marshall Iliff at eBird. He was saying that one of the issues they're having right now is that these all on the eBird alerts, these are all flagged as exotic. And I guess in the back end of eBird, it's not easy to fix that. I don't understand the dynamics behind that. And so the result is that, people are not getting alerts. If you have your alerts set, you are not receiving alerts about American flamingos in whatever state that you might be following.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and so some people are upset about this, and they're contacting eBird, and the eBird viewers are kind of struggling to try to manage this situation. And I guess Marshall said he knew that this could be an issue, and he'd always worried that a gray lag goose was going to turn up in northeastern, in New England someplace or eastern Canada, and that this would become an issue. He was like, I did not foresee flamingo being the one that triggered
the issue.
Yeah.
And flamingos in 10 states.
Yep. Yeah. And it's funny, somebody Georgia I think has still not had one, right?
Neither has West Virginia. We're completely surrounded too, but nobody's calling that out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like West Virginia is poorly designed for flamingos. Not that these other states aren't, but there's not. I feel like, I mean, maybe there's a lake someplace that one could put down in, but I
don't know.
Yeah,
we're checking, we're looking, but
but it was funny. Somebody had a meme up, and it showed all these states highlighted in red, and then Georgia in white, and basically they're surrounded, and it was Georgia birders ... and they're all apoplectic. Basically, every state around them is getting flamingos. So hopefully Georgia will get theirs.
Hopefully Canada will get one. That would be cool,
oh,
wouldn't
man.
it?
Ontario,
yeah.
That would be wild.
I want a flamingo.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah. Well, if you weren't going to go lick toads later today, Holly,
I know.
Molly, I would say you should meet me at this one.
I would be. I wish I would have gone over yesterday, but I couldn't do it then either. I want them bad. I was telling you, George, before we started, I haven't seen a wild flamingo. So let alone around here. The
Yeah.
Ohio ones didn't stick around. I think that might have been the same pair that ended up in Tennessee. I'm watching, and they keep showing up, so I'm still hopeful. But I'm gonna be around a good lake this weekend to check Summersville Lake around New River.
It's
You know what's
worth
going to
don't
be
know.
interesting? Like, is it one or two that are banded, right? I don't know how many, right? But there's been at least one, right? That's banded.
Mhm.
Can you imagine if we get the actual data later on in the year that it went back to its home place?
that would be wild.
That would be
Wow.
wild, right?
Yeah.
Because we always assume, these birds die. It's like, I don't think they all do. I mean,
Right.
especially
That's
Like,
a
what if
great
it hits some
point.
weather and they're like, all right, this has been okay. Not a lot of shrimp here. And, wherever
right. Yeah,
I am,
yeah.
maybe we
I'm
should.
losing my color.
Yeah.
I'm losing my color.
I got to molt soon. Time to hustle. And then they go back. That would be really something, man.
Yeah,
It would be.
right. No, it's flamingos. We've had a
Flamingos.
Chilean flamingo here in the Bay Area for years. It's been hanging around.
I saw one in Chincoteague once, a Chilean flamingo. Everyone just assumed.
kinda-
yeah.
So it's weird to me that they can hang in for like, I would say this one's been here for like decades.
That's pretty
kinda
wild.
Like
Yeah.
the gannet. And there's been talk too, and I think there was even a note somebody sent us about the flamingos asking if we thought they could repopulate Florida
Several
because they
people been
used to
talking
be.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be there, and I figure, well, they kind of have in a sense. Whether they use it, they're starting to use it now. Whether breeding, that's a different deal.
Right.
They have very specific breeding requirements, like where they make their little mud.
Right. But maybe like a non-breeding, site where they start to gather again. That seems perfectly possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And that's step one, right? When you get enough of them there, then that's when they might
Things
go,
could take
hey,
shape.
look at this edge of this little island, muddy island here. We'll breed here, I think that's possible. I don't know where the data is from that they were used to be there. I guess Audubon, he painted them, but, I don't know if there were info of them breeding. I'm not sure.
I don't know about breeding. Yeah. I thought that there were some that had been wintering down there for a while. Just like
I saw like a ones and twos. Yeah.
And I think even at, like there's some off limits pond, I think that used to have like some numbers of them even.
I did see something that, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm making fun, but because it's sort of interesting in some respects, but it's silly in other respects. Somebody asked a question on Facebook about whether the flamingos, this arrival of flamingos, could displace roseate spoonbills. And I'm thinking, the only thing that ties them together is that they're pink.
Yeah.
It's sort of a weird. Right. It was sort of like, why would you think that? But obviously, they do feed in muddy areas and stuff. There might be some niche overlap. But on the other hand, they're the two most distinctive bills that you can have on two water birds. That my guess is, there's very little. No need to worry, folks, is the thing. We can have two pink birds and survive.
I like that. That's another T-shirt in the making there. Yeah. We can have two pink birds. I want my two pink birds.
Survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty wild, man. Well, I'll let you guys know how the chase goes. They've been there. This is still there this morning after being kind of formally discovered yesterday by a guy named John Carter. So hopefully get them today, and that they won't head back to Yucatan until tomorrow, or maybe after folks get to enjoy them for a little while. But one thing we wanted to touch on before we scoot here, we got some great feedback from a friend and listener, Nick Block. And thanks, Nick, for writing in. He was talking about our El Nino episode, and we kind of touched on like the ratites, right? Those big birds, right? Ostriches, emus, rheas, cassowaries.
Usually flightless, yeah.
Yes, typically flightless. And Nick is a professor of ornithology. And he wrote the following, and we thought we'd just share this because it was really an interesting bit. He said,
because we were talking about how these flightless birds had dispersed to the different continents, right?
Right,
Essentially,
and long thought to be sort of basically that some ancestor across Gondwana land would have tied them together.
Right.
But apparently not exactly the case. And Nick wrote, I couldn't help commenting on your brief mention of flightless birds and their biogeography and evolution. It's such a cool story, ! Similar to what y'all speculated and discussed, the Gondwana origin story used to be the prevailing view of how we ended up with large flightless birds on multiple continents, but genomic sequencing, including of elephant bird and moas, remains, and more extensive fossil evidence have pretty much done away with that hypothesis. As it likely turns out, the ancient paleognath that was probably a grouse-sized bird that could fly, and there were multiple cross-water colonizations of flying paleognaths that independently evolved into the flightless species we see today. So instead of a single flightless ancestor that split into different species during the Gondwanaland breakup, it's a story of convergent evolution of flightlessness and gigantism, right? Which is crazy. And in places like New Zealand, where you had huge moas and tiny kiwis, it's very possible the kiwis stayed small because the moas got there first and beat them to the punch for the sort of the large species niche. So cool. A couple of the crazy relationships that have come out of the sequencing analysis. One, the kiwis of New Zealand are sister to the elephant birds of Madagascar. Wrap your head around that. Yeah. And their common ancestor dates to around 62 million years ago, which is way after New Zealand and Madagascar would have been distantly connected as part of Gondwana. The Tinamus are embedded within the flightless paleognaths, probably sister to moas. This finding has been confirmed from multiple studies and really makes the strongest case for the repeated evolution of flightlessness, or flightless, within the paleognaths. There is no precedent for a lineage remaining flight after it was lost evolutionarily, but we see that flight has evolved from many times. Flightless has evolved many times across birds. Thus, because Tinamus retain the ability to fly, then the common ancestor of all modern paleognaths must have been able to fly. The timing of what common ancestor existed varies, but I don't think any of the dates I've seen place it later than the late Cretaceous, about 80 million years ago. This is also well after parts of Gondwana had broken apart and created large water barriers between land masses that have modern paleognaths. Nick says, anyway, it is one of my favorite evolution stories I teach to my ornithology students, so I had to share. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Nick.
Cool.
And how about that, guys?
Yeah. No, and amazing.
Yeah. I love how you get the data and you have all these pieces. It's like one of those riddles that's like there are these 4 people and who lives in what house. It's such a logistical thread that you can work through after you've got all this starting information coming in all these different areas.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, it's
really wild.
And also these new, the phylogeny people say, who cares, what's related to what? But then you actually you're piecing together history, right? There's a true history of these birds, and then you understand why things are the way they are. And then you can actually ask questions too of what is similar even between all these birds. They all have male parental care. And
that's
then
right. Yeah.
You sort of think, oh, well, that's interesting. Why is that happening?
I always assumed that was something that tied them together, right? That that evolved, but must be convergent as well, I guess.
Well, what could happen is that they always were that way, and all original old birds had male parental care, and the evolution of female parental care, might be actually new.
So you're saying those birds that have more female parental care are more highly evolved, Alvaro?
Not highly evolved. That I'm saying they're newer.
I was deliberately trying to put words in your mouth, Nostradamus.
And that is a real just separate from that, the concept of some people say, oh, so that bird is more highly evolved. A Baltimore Oriole is more highly evolved because it's a newer lineage than an ostrich. It's like those lineages have been around since birds, they're a different part of the lineage. They're not necessarily highly evolved. They're actually more recent in their, appearance in the bird world, right? But it's not like cars, where it's like, oh, here's a 50s model Chevy and here's the 2023. It doesn't work that way, So, but anyway, that's something. That's a whole different thing we can talk to Nick about one day.
Yes. Hey, listen, guys, we do have to scoot. Molly has toads to discover and taste. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Yeah, good luck, Molly. Keep us posted. Stay healthy.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole episode.
We have a big group campsite for everyone, too. I've been thinking about that this whole episode.
Oh, wow.
There's going to be some bonding activity.
There you go. Campfire. Yeah.
Bring your bongos for the evening around the fire.
Nice. Well, thanks, everybody, for listening. We will be back again soon. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.